What's going on, folks out there? Amos Morale III, joined by James Smith. We are here to talk to you about what's looking like a very talented group, and that's the 2019 Louisiana recruiting class. Jimmy, prospects at every position that are going to be ready to make an impact right away.
I think that's the key here, Amos, is there's impact players in nearly every position group, and it's guys that seem like could make an impact right away. You know, a lot of elite level talent in this group. Might not be as deep as some might have hoped initially. It might be a little top heavy, but the top 15, 20 players in the state this year rival anything that we've covered here before at NOLA.com.
All right, what's the deepest position in this class, would you say?
Yeah, I think you would have to start with defensive backs. You know, when you have a guy like Derek Stingley at the top of the list, personally the best cornerback from Louisiana I've seen while covering recruiting here at NOLA.com. Tons of upside, tons of potential. Now you see him starting to round out his game and add that high level of technique and discipline to his game. And, I mean, the kid's remarkable. But he's not the only one. You know, Chester Kimbrough from Warren Easton, another guy, 6 foot, real long, real lanky.
Crazy instincts.
Crazy instincts. I mean, the kid just has a great feel for the game. And really, when you look across this whole defensive back group, you could say that almost about all the top guys.
Greg Brooks out of Westchester.
Greg Brooks, father NFL player, and you could tell he's kind of grown up a football guy. And Jordan Clark from U High, of course, his father being Ryan Clark. And it translates on the field. You see the football IQ, the knowledge, the discipline, the technique that these kids put forth. So, I mean, that's a very deep group this year. And I would think maybe behind that, running backs?
Yeah, running backs. You know, you obviously got Desterhands John Emery, who's just super talented. You know, can seemingly can do it all. He can get the tough yards. He can break free and you know, leave some DBs in the dust. You look at him. You've got Tyrion Davis out of Southern Lab, who looks like he's a college football player right now.
He's big.
Now, there's also super talented wide receivers, and they all seem to be in the same area of the state, too.
Yeah, and it's kind of becoming a trend. You know, it's just 2 years ago, Devontae Smith, arguably the top player in the state, pretty productive his freshman year for Alabama. Now there's 2 more in the Tangipahoa Parish area. And Trey Palmer from Kentwood, really dynamic, explosive, fast, home run hitting athlete, really starting to round out his game, too. You start to see him become a more crisp route runner, catch the ball more consistently away from his bodies, things like that. And Devontae Lee, a physical specimen, probably 6'2", 210 pounds or so.
Uses that weight and size well when he plays.
Yeah, and there might not be a human in the world that can compete with him on jump balls. I mean, this kid, kind of a throwback in how he sacrifices his body. We've seen him lay out full extensions and 7-on-7s, and I mean, he's a kid that, you know, once he starts rounding out his game too, you could really see him be really productive on the college level. Those two really stand out as the premier wide receivers in this class.
All right, and then obviously, you know, we haven't talked about the top guy in this class yet, who's a teammate of one of those guys you just mentioned.
Yeah, from a meet, Ishmael Sopsher. I mean, what a monster, disruptive defensive tackle this is. This kid's got it all. Probably close to 6'4" now at this point in his career. 305, 310 pounds. Really looks good carrying that weight. Very lean, very agile and mobile for a big man. I mean, he's, you know, a must-get for a school like LSU, who's trying to dominate in the trenches and close that gap a little bit with Alabama. I mean, but everybody in the country wants this kid.
Yeah, and the thing that really surprises you is that rarely do you see a kid that's as athletic as he is be so polished with his technique, because he's, you know, never really had to use technique. He's just been able to dominate guys physically. But that's the thing that really jumps off the page is, you know, he's got moves. He's got you know, he seems to be, you know, really polished as a defensive tackle.
Yeah, and I think you said it right. A lot of kids that are physically imposing like that have that type of athleticism, you know, don't have to rely on technique very often. They can just run by and run through opponents. But you could tell he's really worked on his craft, getting a lot better playing with leverage, hand placement, using his hands overall. He's become a lot more effective. And, I mean, the kid's been facing double teams now for the last 2 years and has done a really good job of being able to not only hold up against those double teams, but start to split those double teams and still create pressure and get in the quarterback's face. So, I mean, this kid on the next level, you know, could probably play in any system right away at any school in the country. I don't think there's going to be much holding him back from getting on the field.
And then lastly, I think we got to talk about the offensive lineman that's already committed to LSU out of Southern Lab. Also a highly recruited prospect, even though he's been committed for, 2 years, it feels like. Cardell Thomas, just, absolute beast and just loves to compete.
Monster. I think that video clips you had of him just mauling guys at the Army Combine almost went viral last year. And we were talking about Ismail Shopshire. What I wouldn't pay to watch those two just go at it for a little while. I mean, they're other opposite sides of the ball, but I think a lot of what makes Ishmael great makes Cardell great. He's tenacious. He's a finisher. He's athletic. He's strong. And you could tell he works very hard on his craft, too. Those two are elite-level players in the trenches. Anytime you have guys in the trenches at that level, that just adds to the value of the class as a whole. So you could make an argument those are 1 and 2 possibly in the state. I would make an argument Derek Stingley belongs in that group as well. But those are certainly, some of the elite prospects in the country.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in to us. Once again, Amos Morale III for James Smith. And thank you for watching the Recruiting Rundown.